Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Welcome back to Big Mouth. You can continue this conversation about Smallville over on my Twitter account at Movies TV Mad, which of course I told you yesterday used to be called Smallville Mad, and I changed it to attract everyone to it rather than just Smallville fans, which was a bit of a shame because I used to love being called Smallville Mad. I must say that really did enjoy it. But anyway, welcome to episode 2 of Smallville, the saviour of Superman. And I mean every word of that. Smallville is the saviour of Superman. Go back to yesterday's episode to check that out. So when I look back at Smallville and I think about its success, and I wonder what lit the blue touch paper back then. 2001, none of us are thinking about superheroes, not if we're honest. I mean, obviously I still watch the Superman movies. It's all I had. But my interests were elsewhere in 2001. In fact, before Smallville came along, I wasn't that excited for film or TV. If I look back at 2001, really, two things happened that changed that. 24 and Smallville. Because from 2001 onwards I reckon from 2001 to around, I think really maybe 2007, 2008 was the golden age of TV. In fact, it goes beyond that, of course it does. The golden age of TV went from 2001, I'd say, probably till Smallville ended, and really till J.J. Abrams' Lost ended as well, because that was a fabulous show as well. So from 2001 to around 2011 was the golden age of TV, and Smallville was a part of that, because when I started watching Smallville, I thought, this is a new era of Hollywood TV. Because I think we went from Beverly Hills 90210 to shows like Smallville, 24, Alias, Prison Break, Lost, and I could go on. There was amazing shows. And even though after Smallville went off the air, we had Game of Thrones and shows like that, more money was plumbed into them, and that's probably the predominant reason why they were good. But Smallville didn't have a big budget. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Smallville pilot's one of the most expensive pilots ever made, up there with the Lost pilot. The season 4 finale is one of the most expensive finales ever made. Our Miles got a bigger budget, got a bigger bank for that season 4 finale, and it tells, and it works. It's a beautiful finale. And talking about finales and premieres, Our Miles did the best premieres and finales. I remember the pilot and how great that was. The meteor shower. The season 1 finale with the storm. Again, fantastic. And again, with season 2, we had a great premiere, a great finale. I think the season 3 premiere was better than the 2 before it. It had Clark in Metropolis. And then the season 3 finale when old Lionel's having a head shave in prison. Absolute great imagination. Great creativity. Thank you. So as he's sitting there getting his haircut outside of the prison, all hell's breaking loose. A fire's erupted at the Kent farm. Another Kryptonian symbol appears. Lex's scotch has been poisoned. And obviously, Jonathan's been trapped by Jor-El in the Kawatche Caves. It's a great finale. I absolutely prefer the old school way of thinking in terms of finale. I want to see cliffhangers, and I want to see epic finale episodes that leave me in a cliffhanger position where I have to wait for the whole summer. That goes back to the era of Dallas. Unfortunately, new age showrunners don't do that anymore, and it's boring. It really is boring. When I see a show, excuse me, I've got a cough. I do apologise. It must be one of those boring season finales stuck in my throat. But anyway, yeah. So I like the high-edge season premieres. I like the cliffhanger season finales. I think they always work for Smallville. And I think the first 7 seasons had the best finales. I think the season 6 finale took it to another level. That was absolutely fantastic. If you remember the season 6 finale, in the final scene, not Doomsday, sorry, I'm getting a couple of seasons ahead of myself. What's it? Bizarro, that's his name. Our Miles did their own version of Bizarro. And how good was that? That was amazing. It was literally Tom Welling as Bizarro. And he did a really good job. Now, a lot of people have done different versions of Bizarro. We've had animated versions. We've had a version in the Superboy TV show. But I think what Smallville did and what Our Miles did and what Tom Welling did with Bizarro was absolutely fantastic. Smallville was always about the creativity, about taking something to another level. And that's what Smallville always did. And that was part of its success, having Lex Luthor in Smallville, becoming friends with Clark in the early seasons. Then slowly, they're divided, they're apart. He's becoming darker and darker. You see Lex's whole arc, and you see Clark's same arc. A whole arc at the same time. It's just a beautiful piece of work. But going back to the premieres and the finales, as I say, nobody did it better than Our Miles. And when you look at the Arrowverse premieres and finales, they're not as good. They're not as good. I think that we had, as I say, it's boring. And I say it every time. Arrow and The Flash had 2 great seasons, then it gave up. Then the CW took over and just said, make sure you make the shippers happy and make sure we have a lot of virtue signalling and stuff like that, because that's what Arrowverse has become now. It's become an extreme left insane asylum. They hate men. It's not very good. So even though I'm excited about the Smallville crossover, and this is part of my reason for saying I don't trust them, because this is not what Smallville was about. Smallville was at an era of TV where it was all about the content, about, consuming people, compelling people, entertaining people. And this is what doesn't happen in film and TV anymore. It's all about the politics and the virtue signalling. And that has caused the near death of Hollywood. And this is why we're getting films like the Joker movie now, because we want to bring interest back into the content. But it's going to be hard now because a lot of this generation are easily offended. But to be honest with you, there's very few things that you can get offended with Smallville about. The show was special. The show had Superman out of the costume. It took Superman to its core. It took Superman to its beginning. And it said, right, this is his beginning. This is how he starts. He's going to go to school. What Smallville did very cleverly was basically Lex and Lionel were Harry and Norman Osborn. That's what they were. And Clark Kent was Peter Parker. Clark Kent was at school with MJ, basically. That's what they did. They made Lana Lang into MJ. They made Clark Kent into Peter Parker. Of course, he's not Spider-Man. He's still got Superman's powers. He's got all these things to contend with, that he's an alien, that he can't tell his friends. He can't tell Lana. He can't tell Lex. He feels he could tell Lex, but his dad kind of sees through the Luthors. But he won't listen to him. It's the whole thing. If you read the Spider-Man comics, it's the same thing. Uncle Ben is Jonathan Kent in the comics, basically. So basically, I'm assuming Our Miles were big Spider-Man fans. They took the Spider-Man premise and they gave it to a pre-Superman. And for me, that really, really did work. And I mean, even if you look at it as a Norman Osborn, Harry Osborn thing, right, it works. And in fact, if the films actually did it that way, and they kind of did it that way with William Dafoe, it really kind of worked. But then, obviously, he's William Dafoe. He's not going to be in all the films. But yes, they took the Spider-Man mythos and gave it to a pre-Superman Clark Kent, which I think was an amazing creative thing to do by Our Miles. Our Miles have got great quality. They're still making shows. They're still doing well. And they made Smallville the greatest show on earth. And it's a show I'm never going to forget. It's a show that's going to be in my heart. It's a show about my favourite character, my favourite superhero. And they gave him the plush, royal, 5-star treatment. Prequels normally don't work. Prequels don't work because they're not the character we want them to be. The Star Wars prequels had issues because we didn't have Luke Skywalker, we didn't have Princess Leia, we didn't have Chewbacca, we didn't have the characters and the events we fell in love with. But Smallville's different. Smallville found a way to say, right, here's Clark Kent. Now, he's not Superman, but he's still Superman in a way, because he's still got the powers, he's still fighting supervillains, he's still pure-hearted, because Tom Welling's Clark Kent is everything that Superman should be. He speaks softly, he's pure-hearted, he cares about people, he's still the character, but he's got a lot of learning to do, and he makes a lot of mistakes. And this is why Smallville works. The Superman references are beautiful. So even though you haven't got Superman in the costume, you've got the references. And if you don't know about Superman, the references are irrelevant to you because they're so quick. But to a Superman fan like me, they were so all important. The whole mixture of this show. So this show in the end became, in the end, more than just a Superman show. But make no mistake, this was Tom's show, this was Clark Kent's show. But it had this show, because this show was so very clever. It wasn't just the special effects, the super saves, the Clark Kent moments that mattered. They created and they developed these characters. Now, they didn't create a lot of these characters because they're obviously from DC Comics. But they made us care about these characters. So those kind of dynamics between Lex and Lionel were as awesome and epic as those brilliant CGI moments when Clark's fighting someone, when when Clark's flying in the season 4 premiere. That's exciting. But just as exciting is a character scene with Lex and Lionel, or with Martha, Jonathan, and Clark, or whatever. And that's what sets Smallville above the rest. Its characters, its dynamics. It had it all. It had the superhero stuff, but it also had the character dynamics. And that's something that Arrowverse will never have.